welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the iHeartRadio network every Monday through Friday at 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And Big C Sports is also known as the hottest sport in the universe, according to Big C and his good old boys, no hanging chads, Big C. So thank you, good old boys, for that, Big C. Unlike Donald Trump, we will pay these guys, Big C. Also, I want to say we're broadcasting on the iHeartRadio network. iHeartMedia is the #1 media company in the United States. No hanging chads on that, as well as thank you in Latin America. So bienvenidos. Thank you for following Charlton and Big C Sports. Today is a beautiful November the 1st, 2016. And I also want to say thank you, good old boys from across the pond in London, England, as well as Paris, France. I hear that Putin is trying to steal Charlton and Big C Sports, Big C. He's hanging out with Donald Trump. They're trying to steal the election in the United States, and they're also trying to get our feet, Big C. So Putin, put your hands down. Don't do that, Putin. And also you good old boys from the great country of Canada, and of course, our favorite, the United States of America, the land of the free, and the home of the brave Big C. How's it going for you good old boys down south, Big C?
Well, it's going wonderful down here, Charlton, after a great weekend of football. Most of the Southern teams won, other than Tampa Bay being robbed by the Raiders.
Oh, wait, robbed. My man had over 513 yards passing, and they even had a couple of receivers drop passes that would have been 20 yards, Big C. Carr could have had over 600 yards passing.
You have all those penalties, Charlton, so somebody's got to be there to win.
Yeah.
When you got, 23 penalties in the game, something goes wrong, Charlton. So, we heard a lot of crying about the officials over the weekend, so I had to go back and review some game tape just to see what the priorities were down there in Tampa.
Yeah, and I understand that too, Big C, because when you think about that, and people want to blame the Raiders and say they got to really, shore up their penalties. They've been the most penalized team in football since Al Davis sued the NFL, Big C. I don't know what happens. This is a kind of a coincidence. You sue the league, you're one of the most penalized teams in the history of the NFL. But also, I want to say, as far as something that's good with history, this segment is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive it, tell them that Charlton and Big C sent you. And, of course, Big C is the one that smells like fish, so you don't even have to ask which one he drove. Just go by. Let your dogs go out and test drive the cars. They'll tell you the one Big C had.
That's all dinner on you.
Okay.
You always
That is so funny. In fact, I was out looking at some cars today, and I know we have Cadillac as a sponsor, but just looking at some luxury cars that they have, man, the leather, I don't know where they're getting the leather from, Big C, but I'm ashamed that you would actually have it smell like fish after the time you turn it back in, Big C. But, you better... I understand that, Big C. And also tonight, there's so many things to talk about. The world of sports. We have the Big C World Series and the Chicago Cubs and the Cleveland Indians. And for your good old boys over at CBS Sports, Big C stands for Charlton and Big C Sports, not CBS Sports, Big C. And also, I want to say, I hope that tonight is not the end of the World Series. It's been waited on for so many years. I think when you look at the Cubs and their dry spell, and you look at the Cleveland and their dry spell, Big C, we have tonight for the Cubs pitching, Arrieta's 18-8 on the season. He's going against, it looks like, is it Josh Johnson? Who's pitching for
Josh Tomlin's going for Cleveland tonight, Charlton.
Yeah, for Cleveland tonight.
And when you look at what Cleveland's had the dominating pitching in this series. When you think about the lack of run production that the Cubs have had, and that's going to be key. We've seen the team that has scored first have won the game, and so it's going to be very imperative that the Cubs can get some runs across the plate, because if not, Cleveland's going to walk through this series tonight. But that's been the key. They've been able to silence the bats, but now they're back in an American League stadium, Charlton.
Yeah.
So the Cubs get an opportunity to use the pitch hitter, not the pitch hitter, but the designated hitter.
Yeah, the DH.
And we saw what Kluber did when he played. He had 2 hits in the first game that he was a DH. Charlton.
Yeah.
So he could be an advantage for the Cubs depending on where they put him in the lineup. If they put him in the top 4 in the lineup, the Cubs will score early.
Well, in the Cubs, they've been invincible all season, especially for the people in Chicago that love the Cubs. Wrigley Field, one of the most beautiful places and historic place to watch a baseball game, and especially in the era where everybody needs a new stadium. All they've done is kind of revitalize that one by adding on some seats in the outfield, Big C. But I love the fact that For me, this series comes down to the closers. If somehow Chicago can get into the 8th inning, I know they used Chapman last time in the 7th, but I don't think they want to use him in the 7th. I mean, they have to if they have to, Big C. But if they get him to the 8th inning to come in, that would help them a lot.
You don't even worry about getting the closers.
That's true.
You have one game left in the series. What you do is you bring in starters. If you got to bring them in as early as the 5th inning, Charlton, even the 4th inning, you bring the guys off the pine. There's no need in trying to save an arm for the rest of the winter.
Yeah, that's true. That's true, Big C. So if it comes down to that, I look at the. Go ahead, Big C. Go ahead, sir.
You pitch everything to evidence for this thing. If you worry about game 7, if you get me.
Yeah.
But right now, this is the end of the season.
Yeah.
And so look at both teams and utilize the best of their pitching staff. Not worry about the bullpen. But if you have to get 1 or 2 innings out of a starter, Charlton, you don't hesitate that as a manager when you're in the World Series. You bring them in, you got to pitch 8 pitches a night, you pitch 8 pitches, Charlton.
And see, another thing about this World Series tonight, too, Cleveland actually has an NBA game at home. They actually moved it up an hour early just so it would not be so difficult down there in that part where they have the baseball stadium and also the basketball arena. So that's going to be just a packed house and a madhouse no matter what. But if anything that Cleveland has to do to win it, like you mentioned, they got to score first. They got to use the momentum of the crowd behind them. It's going to be a crazy environment. But I think Chicago, if they can get into the 7th or 8th inning with a Chapman, I think that gives them the best chance to win. If Cleveland jumps out first and gets 1 or 2 runs, then it might be too much for the Cubs to overcome. Just your thoughts on that, Big C.
Well, like I said, I look at the team that scores first. The Cubs have had some sluggish bats here in the World Series. They have not had great run production. Cleveland has been a team to go out and produce runs. They've been aggressive, Charlton, and that's what you have to be. You have to be aggressive at the plate. You have players taking a lot of pitches for Chicago, striking out. They have to be. You got to swing the bat. You can't leave it sitting on your shoulder. Guessing. You're paid a copious amount of money to play at this level, and this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to be in the World Series. And so you want to give the optimum performance. You want to challenge the pitcher. You want to crowd the plate. And if you get hit by a pitch, you get hit by a pitch.
just put some ice on it. You just put some ice on it. That's the case for sure, Big C. And also, around the world of sports, NFL, I love it. I love NBA basketball. I love that. I love baseball too. But Big C, some guys just can't seem to stay out of trouble. Just breaking news recently, Big C, the last couple of hours, you have the Washington Redskins with Trent Williams suspended for substance abuse. And I know people need to get treatment, Big C, and these teams know what players need or don't need treatment because they all take a urine test, from what I understand. But what do you say to a guy that can't keep his nose clean enough to make a few $1 million, Big C?
Well, Charlton, I don't know if it's keeping his nose clean or keeping his lungs clean, but whatever. Things are on the banned substance list in the NFL.
Are you sure they know? But
Pardon?
I mean, you say that they know what's on the banned substance list, but you also know, as a former athlete, Big C, the league gives these guys stuff to make the pain go away, and if they can't get enough to make the pain go away, they find the good old boy down the block that helps them get the pain out of the system. That make any sense, Big C?
Well, I know a lot of broadcasters nowadays never play sports.
Big C.
Pain never goes away. I'm in more pain in my life now than I was as a player. And, all the teams have qualified chemists. They call them doctors. But they're qualified chemists.
That's true.
So they can give you things to make you hurt no more. But the problem is, when he won't give it, like you said, when he won't give you anymore, then you have to seek it from alternative sources. And unfortunately, players are being hit with this. I understand the NFL has a rule of modus operandi as far as how they want the players to be and react. But you also got to look at the guys who are making the rules and not the guys who are suffering from that pounding in practice and on game day. You think about, we talked about all the penalties that the Raiders had. Look at the hits that Cam Newton took in the pocket on Sunday.
With no penalties.
There was no calls, and even the league came out and said, well, we missed a few of those calls that should have been called. There was definitely a shot in the pocket where the lineman Campbell went low. From Arizona, hit him in the lower lane. That's one of those things you get a fine as well as kicked out of the game, Charlton. That's what happens. And he didn't even get a flag on that, Charlton, but the league said it was an error on their behalf. The player has to be injured. And you think about when a player takes a pounding, and most people don't understand the game. if you're a lineman in the NFL, you're a linebacker.
Yeah.
You have mauled hands, even running backs, where your fingers don't go in the same direction.
Yeah.
You have knuckles twice the size of everybody else. You're arthritic before you become 30 years of age. When you point at somebody, you got 4 or 5 people looking because they don't know which direction you're pointing.
Yeah, they're like Donald Trump. Their hands go everywhere from what you're trying to say, Big C. They got Donald Trump fingers, Big C.
So, you think about that, Charlton, with the surgeries that players have to go through. We've seen certain players that have had to have surgery this past week.
Yeah.
I fortunately had 15 surgeries.
Yeah.
You think about this. Being cut on 15 times, your body never recuperates.
Yeah.
But, you got doctors that can prescribe opiates. Okay, legal opiates.
Yeah.
So, for a player to get something that's less dangerous and hazardous on their body than these legal opiates that the doctors prescribe, and, we've all talked about marijuana. That's what players want legalized is with the THC because it is a recuperative medicinal drug. Yeah. I mean, it's safer for you than an opiate. You think about players that get hooked on Vicodin, Oxycontin.
That's okay though. If you have Rush Limbaugh's drug, then they consider that okay. But they put these guys in the paper as if the guy got caught with marijuana.
Robert Irsay, think about it. Robert Irsay, the owner of the Indianapolis Colts, who last year was caught with $27,000 of illegal Oxycontin.
Well, the only reason
$27,000 he's the owner of the organization, so you're going to suspend the player?
Yeah, but
they say allow an owner to still be involved in the league with $27,000 of illegal Oxycontin? But because he's so rich, Charlton, he could cut a deal in court, not be convicted of a crime, he just go to rehab. Now, if that had been a black player with $27,000 of Oxycontin, he'd be out of the league. Yeah, and you allow a white owner with $27,000 worth of Oxycontin. Yeah. Hey, you got to stay away from the game for 6 months. When was the last time Irsay took a snap?
I don't think he took a snap in a long time, Big C. Also,
he took a snap, but he didn't take a snap.
Right, that's true, Big C. And also, same thing, Josh Huff, Philadelphia Eagles. He had what they call marijuana possession, which they're trying to legalize in most states anyway. And also, he had a gun. Now, I don't know why you need a gun to play, on the offense for the Philadelphia Eagles. But the way Carson Wentz is lining guys up to be blasted, maybe he just needed more protection. Big C, your thoughts? He said, "I'm not going out for one of those passes."
Making sure nobody gets to his quarterback.
Wasn't that a movie called Wasn't that a movie Blind Side with Sandra Bullock and a player that actually played NFL football?
Michael Orr, the life story of Michael Orr, who's an offensive tackle for the Carolina Panthers, number 73, was originally with the Baltimore Colts out of University of Mississippi. Yeah. And actually, he was recruited and coached by Edge Ogeron, who was the interim coach at LSU right now. So.
Yeah, Ogeron got replaced, got left out of USC, took the USC and walked over to LSU. The good old boys down south, they give him a job. And thinking of good old boys down south, this segment is sponsored by the California Lottery. What can a buck do for you? And tonight's Mega Millions, only about a few, I think it's about $40, $50 million. I don't know, Big C, don't get too excited if it's $40, $50 million. But tomorrow night's Wednesday's Powerball, won by Charlton and Big C Sports, is over $190 million, Big C. That's enough to get Nick Saban. In fact, Donald Trump might go on a halt. He might put his campaign on hiatus to play that Powerball, Big C.
Well, I'm going to have to call my bookie, my sports bookie and see about, getting the odds on that, okay?
Yeah. Well, we already won. I feel like I've already won I said I've been itching all day, and I know it's not from not showering because I took a shower on the weekend. I take a shower once a week whether I need it or not because we do have a drought here in California. And also, speaking of what's going on in the world of sports, Big C, I'm just so amazed at how you talked about that thing on Cam Newton, how he doesn't really get protected. It's been all over the media waves today, how he gets hit a lot, and I really think that when you look at some athletes, there's always some kind of a pushback. And maybe I'm just cynical because I grew up in California, so we're a little bit more cynical than you guys, Big Z. But I think because he had that thing where he did not talk to the media after they lost to Denver in the Las Vegas Super Bowl, Big Z. Actually, it's Santa Clara, but we call it Las Vegas for a reason. And then also, I think there's just a pushback on the guy doing the dab and the people that don't like seeing the showmanship from an African-American athlete. And I think sometimes it runs deeper than just the media, Big C. I think sometimes the league they just have their own way of dealing with this guy because he maybe embarrassed them at the podium of the Super Bowl as the MVP. Just your thoughts, Big C, or am I too cynical, Big C?
Well, Charlton, has been very critical of his celebrations. Aaron Rodgers started the celebration for a quarterback.
Yes, right? Double check, yeah.
As a matter of fact, Jim McMahon did.
Yeah.
Jim McMahon used to have the headbutt with his offensive lineman when he was with the Chicago Bears.
Yeah.
Then you look at Aaron Rodgers with the discount double check, putting on the championship banner every time he threw a touchdown. There was no backlash from the league on that. Matter of fact, he got commercial endorsement from an insurance company, Charlton, after doing that. Cam Newton, then, you look what he did, and because he had done more than any quarterback athletically in the history of the NFL, as far as running, passing for touchdowns in the year, and yards when you look at his combined production, no quarterback had ever equaled that. But he was an African-American quarterback, Charlton. You're supposed to be humble and just be accepted that you're allowed to play the position, okay?
Yeah.
We gave you a job to give you a paycheck. Don't go out there and make waves. Don't embarrass anybody.
Yeah, and if you do,
if you embarrass people, we're going to allow people to take shots at you, and we're not going to throw the flag. You think about it, Charlton, in the last 2 years, he's had no roughing the passer penalties. He's been hit in the pocket this season, in the pocket, not outside, in the pocket, 59 times. Not roughing, not one roughing call, Charlton. Granted, some of those hits outside the pocket are legal because he's become a runner.
Yeah.
But when he slides head first, just like Alex Smith did, when you go feet first and you give up yourself, you're not supposed to be touched.
Yeah.
You can go back and review game film, Charlton, from game 1 against Denver to this last game against Arizona.
They were headhunting him,
and see him being hit on a slide feet first and no flags by the officials. There is not equitable treatment in life. There is not equitable treatment in professional sports. You go back to the Shaq room. They said Shaq was much bigger than everybody.
He's too big to get hurt,
You go back to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He was taller than everybody else and had a shot that was unblockable. He come out of the game, looked like he's been in the cat fight with all the shots. And then you look at Wilt Chamberlain. People draped on his arms.
Yeah, and that's not just the women he was dating, Big C. That's the guy that he played the game with, Wilt Chamberlain, or Big C. Just so people know, Wilt Chamberlain partied a lot.
Charlton, you get Tom Brady, he's like that. You get Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, Phillip Rivers. You get some of these other elitist quarterbacks in the NFL hit at the rate. Cam Newton's been hit, Charlton. You got flags all over the place. But that is not occurring. And these officials are very aware of what they're doing, or they become also incompetent. You choose the one that you want to believe.
Well, Big C,
they're aware of what they're doing, or they become incompetent. And the league is in cohorts with whichever part you want to choose.
Well, I think because Las Vegas is so powerful in so many things, there's a way to get things done, and I know the average public doesn't want to hear that because everybody's nice, and just like Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, everybody gets along. But see, nobody has a feud. And what does Jerry Jones say? If you're not cheating, you're not trying. And so I think some good old boys have their hands on who's going to call what against what players, Big C. But also, I want to touch on something that we always touch on. I don't care who the player is. We're not immune from this. In our society, I believe we got to keep our women safe. But I also believe,
let me give you a point. We talked about cheating and not crime. We talked about the movie Blindside earlier, okay? Where there was a scene in the movie where the officials wouldn't make a call, and even in the movie with Denzel Washington, that he was a high school coach. And because
the Titans. Was it Return of the Titans? Return of the Titans, I think you're talking about.
Remember the Titans. Remember the Titans, where the officials wouldn't make the call and they were making bogus calls. Because they would have big plays because of racism. I still got to look at it from that perspective, Charlton, because we have so many, and we've talked about that. We talk about the number of Anglo broadcasters in professional sports. But we haven't talked about the number of Anglo officials in professional sports that are dealing with these high-profile athletes and very talented and fast and strong individuals. There's no equity even in officiating the games, Charlton.
Well, Big C,
look at that.
And just when you're...
And that's at every level, Charlton.
And your point is, too, and I remember one time, even as a youth playing, I remember, and of course, things change in time, but sometimes they really don't. I remember an official calling me boy, and he wasn't trying to be too nice about it. I'm glad I had a uniform on, Big C. He wasn't a guy with a badge and a gun, but I'll never forget that. I think people remember the bad things in life more than the good things. But speaking of good things,
I've had even the worst things said to me as a player. By coaches and officials. I've had the N-word dropped to me back in the day when I was playing. So, and that came from opposing coaches and officials on the field. And this is how they were able to get away with it. It's my word against theirs. Why would they say that? Even though there was other players who heard these atrocities spoken to me.
Yeah.
But they were never reprimanded for it, Charlton.
So,
it was almost like they were patted on the back by the other guys.
So,
and even their workmates, Charlton,
yeah,
could have been appalling to them.
Well, so maybe that's where Donald Trump learned it, Big C. Just deny it, no matter what you say, and your own lips are saying it. Just say, it's not me who said grab women by the crotch. Or, he used a more vocal word, Big C. But speaking of grabbing people, in a good way, I want to say that this segment is sponsored by United Labor, guaranteed $100,000 life insurance with no medical questions. That means for you good old boys, we can insure you without asking you medical questions, Big C. And also, we are endorsed by the American Cancer Society and the American Heart Association. And we work with all of the unions under the AFL-CIO. So we're trying to put people back to work. Tweet out to Charlton and Big C Sports on the iHeart Radio Network. We're looking to hire over 1,000 licensed insurance brokers to help people back to work. Unlike Donald Trump, we're not building walls to keep people out. We want to build walls to put them inside the work, Big C. And another portion I want to talk about in the NFL, your friend Brock Osweiler, the guy that also pushes women, and we talked about that too, keeping women safe. The game against this last game that they had against the Lions, and they had a 2013 win. He didn't even have 200 yards passing, but that's worth $72 million. And I want to bring that up because of this. When you give a guy that kind of money, you expect him to be maybe like a Tom Brady. You expect him to throw like a Warren Moon, or even like a Steve Young back in the day, Big C. But here's a guy that gets that kind of money, and he did it against the defense and not that good against the pass. But how does he not get any criticism? The $72 million, and you don't even pass for 200 yards in a game, and you got a guy like, in fact, he was 20 of 29, 186. You had Carr for the Raiders that threw the ball 59 times, but he had 513 yards. He's not making near the money that Osweiler is playing, and he doesn't push women, from what I understand, Big C. Your thoughts on that?
Well, when you look at it, Charlton, and if you look at Houston's victory, their defense have led this year.
Yeah.
When you look at the low score of their opponents, it's not because the offense is really outscoring a lot of people, and the defense has put them in great opportunities to score. But, the quarterback is getting all the credit. He can't get 200 yards a game.
Yeah.
You expect that from a running back. I think the running back for the Dolphins, the guy, he's had back-to-back 200-yard games. Osweiler's had back-to-back games of less than 200 yards passing.
Yeah. So
when you're talking about productivity, we've often, Charlton, talked about the disparity in money and pay amongst athletes in the NFL, how quarterbacks receive all this money, the lack of productivity, and yet you'll say that an African-American running back is dispensable and you can replace it. But when you got a running back who is more productive than a quarterback who is making 10 times the money that he's making, who does the team need the most? You look at Ryan Tannehill in Miami. When he's throwing the ball, they're losing. You hand the ball off to a giant who is probably making, $700 to $1.2 million. Yet Tannehill's contract calls for $117 million over 5 years.
And that's,
who is more valuable to the offense, Charlton? And the media won't tell you that. They say, well, he's had some tough times. He hasn't had the support of his offensive line. The receivers are letting down. But he's a $117 million quarterback that can't complete a damn pass. Where's the productivity?
Yeah, that's so funny. And when you think about it, Detroit's defense, they give up about 259 yards a game. He couldn't even get 200, but he gets to keep that $72 million contract, Big C. And I want to bring it up because he had just about 128 yards, actually 130 yards passing the week before against Denver. There's no talk about him being a bust. But when you look at what you pay, like you just brought up the pay scale, there's way too much money for quarterbacks that don't produce, Big C. But it is still the good old boy position. They always wanted to have the white guy in that position so they could say this guy has great leadership skills and he really knows how to conduct the team and drive the offense down the field. But hold someone accountable when you're giving them $72 million. They can't even pass for 50 yards in the quarter, Big C. And also, one more thing I want to bring up, and I'm not jumping on this guy, Aaron Rodgers, because I really like him. But Aaron Rodgers, his numbers are a little bit down. I don't know if Aaron Rodgers is injured, but you know how he says, just relax? There's something funny about Aaron Rodgers when he says, just relax, guys, relax. We're going to be okay. I think a lot of guys, they go up to Denver and they come back with a different perspective about relaxing. I don't know what it is about Colorado that helps guys say that, Big C. You have any clue, Big C?
It's in the air. That Rocky Mountain high, legitimately.
Now I understand John Denver after all these years when he's saying about Rocky Mountain High, Colorado. I thought he was talking about the altitude, but now I know it's a little bit smoky and substance, Big C. But is there something wrong with Aaron Rodgers, Big C? Do you think it's just, He's older now. He's been hit a lot, and he's not having the same resiliency that he's always had, Big C.
Well, the thing with Aaron Rodgers now, Charlton, is that he's gotten sloppy with his technique.
Yeah.
And people say, how can you rate Aaron Rodgers like that? Because he has.
Yes, the truth.
His footwork is changed.
Yeah.
His timing in the pocket. He's more apt to get out of the pocket and want to run now. He doesn't trust his offensive line. And as a quarterback, Aaron Rodgers used to get rid of the ball quicker than anybody in the NFL, Charlton. I mean, it was 1, 2, 3, and the ball was gone.
Yeah.
He'd be gone in 2 seconds. He didn't sit there and hold the ball in the pocket, which he's become very accustomed to doing over the past 2 seasons. He's holding the ball longer. He's not anticipating a receiver being in a spot and being open.
Yeah.
He's not throwing a receiver open. He's waiting on a receiver, Charlton, to get open. And that's been the change in Aaron Rodgers' game. It's just his mechanics are poor. You look at his footwork as he's in the pocket. He's never stable. He doesn't plant and ready to throw. He's dancing around. He's quick to move. But, just him not understanding where the game is now, maybe he's gotten skittish. He's had several concussions.
Yeah, that could cost you. I was just going to say that.
But over the years, he's okay with having a concussion. You look at everybody else, they put him in concussion protocol.
Yeah.
But Aaron Rodgers is not the same quarterback he was 5 years ago because he doesn't play the game the same way. He is not the pocket passer presence that he once was, and that's changed his whole dynamics of his offensive play, Charles.
And speaking of dynamics, Big C, I just want to say that this segment is sponsored by One Life America Life Insurance. We're the leaders in the country when it comes to final expense. We're also trying to put 1,000 insurance brokers to work. Tweet out to Charlton and Big C Sports on the iHeart Radio Network every Monday through Friday at 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We are worldwide, and also Charlton and Big C Sports. We're rated number 1 in the universe, Big C, according to Big C and his good old boys. But I think I was out walking early this morning, and I even saw some spaceships flying by, and they were pounding out Charlton and Big C Sports, Big C. Or it could have been the effect of that moonshine you sent me too, Big C. So it's the real mothership, Big C. But I just want to touch on something because has Trent Dilfer given you a phone call? Does he even have your number down south, Big C? Because he told Trent.
Listen to Jeopardy, okay?
Yeah.
Everybody's guessing.
Man, he's
just throwing stuff off the wall as it comes through. For a guy who's had the years in professional football and to play the quarterback position. As we talked about, this be the most knowledgeable position on the team.
Yeah.
He's a little skittish mentally, when he's sitting there talking about stuff and his speculation.
He
changes his thoughts and his impression of people more than I change my underwear.
Yeah, and that's like every day from what I understand. You get a voice. But the funny thing is,
almost changing frequently,
I understand. So listen to this. Carson Wentz, and I like all athletes that can make it in the league. There's nothing wrong with that. But I'm looking at how the media brings up this bias about how dominant a quarterback is if he's Caucasian, and if he lacks fundamentals because they usually describe the black guys that way. That's the coach speak. Well, I heard Trent Dilfer was saying, along with a lot of guys, it was, who's the guy with the hair that you like? The guy that the monkey had more accuracy than him. What's his name? Mel Kiper. The monkey got. What did you say? The monkey guessed right 80% of the time, and the Kiper was 22%.
Mel got it right about 16%.
And then they're feeding the monkey bananas. That's so funny.
He works with bananas.
Well, Trent Dilfer was saying, along with a lot of other guys, that Carson Wentz, this guy's already NFL ready. In fact, he looks like an NFL 5-year pro when they got up to that 3-0 start. Now they're playing against better defenses, Big C, and they've lost. They're on a losing skid right now. I mean, they had the win against the Vikings, but to go from 3-0 to 4-3, okay, that's not the best football. Now I'm not just knocking him, but I want to just make this point that you were talking about for the last year when they were saying this guy's the next Joe Montana. Well, most of his passes, they're not even 20 yards downfield. They looked at the game that he had in this last football game against Dallas, and his average yard, he had 202 yards passing, and his average rate of passing is only 6.3 yards. Well, Ezekiel Elliott averages almost 5 yards a carry. Wyatt Wentz rated a lot more higher as an NFL franchise guy than a guy like, Zeke Elliott or even Cardale Jones out of Ohio State. And that's the same thing you talked about before they drafted him number 2 in the draft, Big C. He doesn't have the arm to throw the ball 40, 50 yards downfield like a Derek Carr. He has the ability to throw the ball 5 yards downfield as his average. Actually, 6.3 yards There are guys that get that on the handoff, Big C. But where's Trev Dilfer now saying that they were wrong about this guy that was going to throw downfield like Dan Elway, Joe Montana or John Elway? He's throwing 6.3 yards downfield. No one's saying they made a mistake on him, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I look at it in this comparison. When you look at Dak Prescott, everybody now, because of Dak Prescott's success, is saying, well, it's the offensive coordinator that's calling the plays, and Tony Romo could run the same plays in the game.
Yeah.
Well, if Tony Romo could have ran the same plays, Charlton, Dallas would have got off to a 6-1 start last year, I believe.
They never have
Tony Romo couldn't.
Yeah.
And he's never gotten off to a 6-1 start in Dallas with the same offensive coordinator. So you take away the success of what an African-American quarterback doing, saying, well, he's only doing it because of the system.
Yeah.
So everybody plays Carson Wentz the first 3 games of the season because no other opposing team had any preseason film on him. Charlton, if you recall, he missed the preseason.
Yeah.
So the game taker, that came game 4, and people knew where, like what you said, he doesn't throw the ball beyond 15 yards down the field. There's a lot of yards after the catch in the Philadelphia offense. So Carson Wentz, and he's been sacked a lot lately, so he's welcome to the NFL.
Yeah.
But when you do that in comparison to what Dak Prescott has done, Dak, pulls out a game in the fourth quarter drive, gets the overtime drive, gets the win for the Cowboys, and people are still saying, well, they're waiting on Tony Romo to come back. What do they want to do? Go on a losing skid with Tony Romo?
Yeah, I think
you have success.
Yeah.
If he's a white quarterback, you don't change it. Then Charlton, this is before your time, but Jefferson skipped Joe Gillen with the Pittsburgh Steelers in their second Super Bowl run. Terry Bradshaw was out 11 games. He was hurt.
Yeah.
Gillen took this team to first place in the division, won the playoff game. Next thing you know, Terry Bradshaw's back in as a starter. Not that Terry wasn't a great player. Much better player than what Tony Romo has been in this league.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah.
But, it was unfortunate for Gillen in his career that, you have all this success as a starter. Next thing you know, when the team gets to the pinnacle of winning a championship, you're told by the organization that you can't win the big game even though you've won 11 straight.
Yeah.
But you can't win the big game. Think about the psyche on that African-American quarterback and other African-American quarterbacks in the future.
Yeah.
Doug Williams wins the Super Bowl, never takes another NFL snap, Charlton.
Well,
why? Because he embarrassed one of the great quarterbacks of all time, John Elway.
Yeah.
Made him look very pedestrian in that game and just ate up Denver's defense.
And see,
it goes along with the history when you're looking at Dak Prescott now, Charlton.
Yeah.
The success that he's had, a 4th-round draft pick. No one expected anything of it. And they said, well, he got lucky because Tony Romo got hurt. No, Dallas got lucky.
They want him to stay hurt, Big C.
They got a quarterback.
Yeah. That's so funny when you bring that up. And what I love about our program is we're not racist, we're not sexist, we're not homophobic. We don't believe in any of that garbage. We believe that all people should be created equal, Big C.
Everybody can go back and research what we're saying.
Yeah.
And if we're wrong, let us know we're wrong.
Yeah, let us know.
You go back and you research what we're talking about, you see the accuracy of it.
Yeah, and
the accuracy is there.
And you won't hear that other places. And so I'm a big advocate for not only myself as an African-American broadcaster. I've been around this business 30 years. You've been up at 40 years. So I'm new school. You're old school. You're a little bit older, Big C, and sometimes you
Let me put it to you this way, Charlton. I played on nothing but multiracial teams in my entire life, whether it was high school, college, or professional ball. Okay?
Yeah.
Everybody in that locker room, whichever locker room I was in, that was my family.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. All
regardless of race, creed, religion, we were all family. So by me making the comments I make about another athlete, it's not racial.
It's real.
We were family.
Yeah.
I depended on the white guy, depended on the Hispanic guy, depended on the Asian, the Middle Eastern guy. Whatever teammate I had, Charlton, I could rely on him. If I'm going to a night fight, those are the guys I was
the guys that with. The guys that your teammates, and that's why
my family. Those are my brothers.
Yeah,
and so I still have relationships with many of them today. So if the commentations that I make on the airways, people get offended by it, understand my family's been multiracial my entire athletic life.
Yeah,
but I understand the game. I understand the business.
Yeah,
and I'm not gonna BS you like one of these network guys do because I got on a pretty suit, pretty hairdo, got my makeup on my face. And I never put my hands in the dirt, Charlton. So you say
are you saying you don't wear makeup, Big C? Are you trying to tell me your good old boys down south don't put on makeup, Big C?
all camouflage, y'all.
You've never seen Vern Lindquist on TV, then I take it. He's all man, and I like Vern, but Vern, he wears my makeup than Maybelline, from Maybelline, than some of the Victoria's Secret girls. See, I just wonder why they do that for the TV guys, and I think I'm going to stand up for my women too, because a lot of the times, and you won't hear this about the major networks, as the women get older and they get more erudite, they get more well-read, they replace them, but they'll keep an old, wrinkled-up white guy on the air, and that's just a fact. I mean, whatever it is, they don't care about the mallet, and that's a shame.
High-definition television,
yeah.
4K.
Yeah.
They don't want to see the lines on a woman because of her expertise.
Yeah.
They replace her with somebody cheaper and pretty.
Yeah.
But, when you think about all the women that have been in professional sports, Charlton, over the past 2 decades,
yeah,
the knowledge they've achieved, the relationships that they've established with organizations and players, but the networks feel that they're dispensable because they've got some years on. We're all getting older.
We're all getting older, yeah.
Hope to get older.
Yeah.
But that's racial disparity and discrimination. What they do to
against the genders.
Reporters, by replacing them with somebody who is less knowledgeable and don't have the relationship with coaches and players, something, where they can get the true insight. I mean, I've watched some of these, and I'm gonna be honest about it. Heads on the sideline. Yeah. When they go up, coach, what are you gonna do to motivate the player?
I'm gonna cut him. I'm gonna cut him.
I'm gonna set it down. I'm gonna trade somebody. I'm gonna cut somebody.
Yeah.
That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna put my foot into behind when I get the license. They're gonna hear words to me that I can't say on TV.
Yeah. So you said,
what I'm gonna do.
You said,
but, to ask the coach, what are you gonna do to motivate? What did you say was the turning point? The turning point in the game is when we went ahead. Okay,
right.
When we outscored the opponent, that was the turning point in the game. But when you ask me an asinine question and expect me to give you an intelligent response, I gotta sit there and say, who the hell is this talking to?
I understand. Well, sometimes the teleprompter breaks, Big C, so they gotta use that. And the last thing I want to say, this final segment is sponsored by Beneath His Wings Foundation.org and CYNN Entertainment. When it comes to entertainment, Cynthia Evans, she's the best in Northern California. Big C, I just want to touch on a few things here because I like to pay homage to the high school teams out there also. There's a lot of good high school football going on all over the country, especially, down south. They have a lot of good kids. That's why Jim Baha takes a luxury jet 747 down to Florida to recruit. That way you get more than one kid that you can recruit on the recruiting trip.
Took that out of his pocket. That was pocket
okay.
$9 million a year. You can chart up playing the ticket boys with it. And think about it, Charlton. If the coach takes him, it's not an NCAA violation.
And so
because the school is doing it.
Yeah, so he's smart.
Not coming out of pocket, it's going on a school charter.
But that kid better not take a free steak dinner or he may lose his scholarship, Big C. But I just want to touch on the top 10 national high school football programs according to the USA Today program. Number 1, Bishop Gorman out of Las Vegas, Nevada. They're 10-0. Number 2, IMG Academy out of Bradenton, Florida. They are 8-0. I believe that's where the Oakland Raiders were doing their practicing before they took on Tampa. Number 3 is Modern Day of Santa Ana, California. They're 9-0, headed by Bruce Wallison. And number 4 is McGill Tulane out of Mobile, Alabama. Down in your neck of the woods, Big C. They probably have a lot of catfish on the sideline of their game for homecoming, Big C. And number 5, DeSoto, Texas, 9-0. Number 6, the Master of Hyattville, Maryland. They are 9-0. Number 7, Allen, Texas. I believe they play in a football stadium that's about $40 million down in Texas. So where they take all the tax bonds. They don't build schools. They build stadiums down in Texas, Big C. And number 8 is St. Thomas Aquinas out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. They are 6-2. Number 9 is Mountain Point out of Phoenix, Arizona, 10-0. And rounding out the top 10 is Corona Centennial, and they're out of California. They're 8-1 on the season. Their only loss was by 1 point, Big C, to IMG Academy out of Florida, and they lost by the score of, I think it was 51-50. How do high school kids score 51 points in the game, Big C?
Well, we're talking. What I'm more concerned with, how does the California team play a Florida team? I mean, they didn't ride the school bus like we did in high school. We used to have a great game. So somebody had a charter. Somebody was flying first class. So that's what I look at. In 5150 is a fantastic score. Very competitive game. How do you get from California to Florida on the school bus?
It's called money, like the lottery that we just won tomorrow night. Think about that. The Big C lottery, the California lottery. It starts with a C. The Big C lottery. Man, it might take me some time, but I finally figured out Big C. Charlton and Big C Sports all.
Lottery, we got the Big C World Series.
The Big C Cadillac. Yeah, that's so funny. And as we close out, Big C, I just want to get your thoughts. We talked about some football that's happening. We love NFL. We love college. Also want to pay knowledge to our high school players out there playing good top quality football all throughout the country. We know we got the Big C World Series tonight. Just your thoughts on what you're looking for tonight. I hope we see Game 7, but if not, congratulations to both programs from Cleveland and Chicago for getting there. Your thoughts, Big C?
Well, Charlton, I'm just hoping for a competitive game tonight in Cleveland in Game 6 of the World Series. It's been so long. It's been so long of a drought for both of these cities to not have a championship in baseball. 48 for the Indians, 08 for the Cubbies. But, you think about the competitive nature of athletes when you get down to a championship series. That they know it's all on the line. And that's why I talked about managers not going to wait till late in the game if they need to change pitchers. They'll bring in a starting pitcher in the middle of the game, fourth or fifth inning. If a starter is struggling, they will replace him because they know it's a long winter to recruit.
Yeah.
But, it's just great to have the World Series to be competitive. And you think about the draw on this World Series. They outdrew Monday Night Football.
Yeah, that's true.
That's how competitive they've been. They've outdrawn Sunday Night Football. The World Series is what it truly is. It's the World Series. It's America coming together. We talk about sports galvanizing America. The World Series, the Big C World Series, galvanizes America, Charlton, because you don't have to be a club fan. You don't have to be an Indian fan. But you've seen two long, struggling, suffering franchises at the pinnacle of professional baseball. With the opportunity to walk away with the World Championship, Charlton. And as an American, you root for the underdogs. And truly, the underdogs are in the World Series. Teams that had great seasons, but the underdogs over history of the game with an opportunity to walk away with World Series championships.
Well, Big C, I love what's going on in the world of baseball. Two great cities, two Midwestern cities. Fans from all over the country flying in just to see the Game 6 and 7. I hope it's a Game 7, but I'm not partial to either team. But I just want to also just take a little footnote here. I want to congratulate Alex Rodriguez, who had a lot of, pro and con, good and bad media, played great baseball in his career at Big C. He's working with Fox right now as an analyst, doing a very good job. And I just want to I want to add more diversity to our broadcast. I know a lot of the mainstream won't bring it up because they're comfortable and they like to benefit from the racial disparities that happen in the broadcast booth. But you look at the world of football, we talked about it before, it's about 75% African American for the NFL, about 90% African American for the top 10 teams, Big C. When it comes to the broadcast booth, we're just marginalized, and it doesn't make any sense. It would be analogous to having the Masters, the tradition like no other down in Augusta, Georgia. Imagine 99% of the players that play golf are Caucasian, at least at the Masters, outside of Tiger Woods and a couple other guys. Imagine if all the broadcasters were black, or if they were Native American, or if they were, Asian American. It doesn't matter. But they're all white. Every single one of them. They may have Mike Tirico down there, and that's like one, so they got their affirmative action quota filled out. But I just want to see more equality with our brethren in the media. I think everyone should watch the documentary 13. I believe so much that if you don't talk about equality, it will never happen. It should happen for men and women. As a woman gets older, she should not be replaced just because they want to look at someone who's 25 years old, Big C. That Donald Trump mentality of grabbing women by the crotch, I think that's a crime. I hope that no woman has to put up with that. If you're dealing with that, call 911. But Big C, I just want to add one more thought from you. What will it take to put equality in the broadcast booth? Because if you get diversity from everybody who's played the game, especially when you dominate the games, I think that's better for the sport that we have inclusion, Big C, and not this 99% Caucasian male-dominated broadcast booth. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, it comes from the corporate boardroom, okay?
Yeah.
The guys who look like me, the guys that I want to go sit down and have lunch and dinner with.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to. I don't want to have to understand another ethnic's values or culture.
Yeah.
So I'm going to stay with the guys that I'm comfortable with. And that's the reason why we see the disparity when we come to broadcasting, when we come to officiating. Because good old boys, when they sit up in production meetings, and this happened to me when I got started in broadcasting, there was a lot of racial jokes, and I had to ask the guys, why can't you tell that about your own ethnicity?
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden they wanted to use another ethnicity other than mine. I said, no. Why can't you say it's you?
Yeah.
Your race.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't sound the same. Yes, it does. It sounds the same to me. But why do you have to pick on and undermine another race? And I think that's a big part of it, Charlton.
Yeah.
Because they can be comfortable behind closed doors, said what they wanted about other people.
Yeah, and
we talked about Cam Newton earlier.
Yeah.
They're not calling Cam Newton a whining quarterback. They're using other epithets for Cam Newton when they're behind the door.
Right.
They know they are. And people can say, well, we're in a better society and we're politically correct. You're only politically correct in public, Charlton.
Yeah.
Period.
And
the only place people are politically correct is in public, because once they get behind closed doors, they're going to say what they want to say because they're the same.
Yeah.
And you talked about the movie 13. Let me take you back a little further. Go back to 1984.
Yeah.
There was a movie done called Soldier Story. Should have been nominated for an Oscar. Probably the best production of 1984. Didn't even get nominated for an Oscar.
Yeah.
Predominantly African-American cast.
Was Denzel Washington in that movie also?
That's where Denzel Washington really got his start, along with Robert Townsend, David Allen Greer, many others. Henry Rollins was in the movie. So the heat of the night, people remember him with Carol O'Connor.
Yeah.
But that movie was a prerequisite to what the documentary 13 is if you watch that movie.
Yeah.
Didn't get nominated for an Oscar in 1984, but it was so poignant about what happened then, which was based in World War II.
Yeah.
So what's going on now in society, Charlton, the disparity. Even when you had a position that was ranked in the military, you still were not thought of as an equal and lesser, and there was only so many, you couldn't even question somebody else of the opposite race.
Yeah.
And so that's where society, as much as it advanced, people want to say, well, you got wealthy athletes, you got some actors. Some.
Yeah.
The key word is some, Charlton. Not a lot are equal, but some. And that's what racism does. It says because you have some, you should be happy for them and not worry about yourself. But we want equality in life.
Yeah.
And that's what people don't realize. No one wants anyone to do worse than themselves.
Yeah.
But too many people do not want people to do equal or better than others.
Yeah.
So to have equality in America, the land of the free, the home of the brave, where you still have separate and unequal in a country in 2016, Charlton.
Yeah, and that's
just not fair.
And that goes back to the Kerner report. And I just want to close up with this. In the world of sports, sports is $1 billion industry, and it brings people together. We're not going to do it in the churches because they're all segregated. We're not going to do it with politics because that's so balkanized. And when Donald Trump could go around and grab women by the crotch, teenage girls by the crotch, as if they don't mean anything, that's the same type of corporate behavior that tells a woman once she hits 45 or 50 that she can't be on camera anymore. They don't say it verbally, but they just fire her or they put her in a different position, Big C. So we're pro everybody. I believe in competition. Let's make everybody have an opportunity to compete for what's fair, what's equitable. And I want to say there's no tolerance for domestic violence. If you see any woman in trouble, just call 911. Don't make her deal with it on her own. And we come to you every Monday through Friday at 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time worldwide on the iHeart Radio Network with Charlton and Big C Sports, the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and his good old boys down south. But as we always tell you, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.